We now move over to the Middle East. Rescuers in Gaza say an Israeli airstrike has killed 9 children belonging to a married pair of doctors in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency reported that the children of Dr. Hamdi al-Najjar and Dr. Ala al-Najjar died in the strike, with the parents and another son seriously wounded. Let's listen in to what the niece of the Mahmoud al-Najjar had to say.
Uncle's wife, Dr. Ala Amin al-Najjar, she's a doctor for the children. She treats children, and in a moment, her daughters and her sons, with her hand died. Yahya, Sidra, Luqman, Sadin, Rival, Jubran, all of them died between his hand. She left the hospital, walking on her leg, reaching to Khizan al-Najjar.
Footage from the aftermath showed rescuers recovering charred bodies from the family home. The Israeli military stated that the strike was under review following reports of these civilian casualties. In Tel Aviv, Israeli protesters rallied once again, calling on the government to secure a hostage deal and an end to the war in Gaza. Demonstrators held signs and chanted slogans demanding the release of captives still held by Hamas since the October the 7th attack in 2023. Let's listen in to what some of the protesters had to say.
This government must go away. I think everything else will be better than this government who does such a damage for all of us, Israelis, Palestinians, all the area. It's just...
We want the war to end now because we see no future to this process. We see that the war will not lead to the release of the hostages, and that it will bring more death, more misery on both sides, more soldiers to be killed.
In a related development, Israel is investigating multiple cases involving its own soldiers, allegedly forcing Palestinians to act as human shields in Gaza, a practice the Israeli military says is strictly prohibited under its orders. In a statement, the Israel Defense Forces confirmed that several investigations have been launched by its military police criminal division following reports that Palestinians were coerced into participating in military operations, including being sent into buildings and tunnels to check for explosives or armed fighters. The announcement follows a report which cited testimonies from both Palestinian civilians and Israeli soldiers. According to the report, the use of Palestinians as human shields has become widespread during the ongoing conflict. Meanwhile, Malaysia's foreign minister has condemned what he called atrocities in Gaza, accusing the international community of double standards and indifference to the suffering of Palestinians. Speaking at a regional ASEAN meeting, Minister Muhammad Hassan said the violence reflects a breakdown in respect for international law. We're now joined by Professor Rohan Gunaratne, who is an international security expert located in Singapore, to discuss this further. Rohan, thank you very much for joining us on the programme. I want to start with the biggest news, obviously, this case of this female doctor that left for work, and then her 9 of her 10 children were killed in an Israeli strike. Now, the IDF say they have launched an investigation into this. How likely is it we see any repercussions, how reliable will the IDF investigation be on this matter? We've seen internal investigations before, one including those 15 medical staff that were killed in Israel. You can liken it to a case study like that. Do you think we're going to see any results? Anyone take accountability for this?
IDF will certainly investigate this matter, but what is important for all of us to understand is 2 things. One is huge, tragic loss of civilians. Second is that Hamas is continuing to use hospitals and the immediate neighborhood of hospitals as a human shield to protect and fight IDF. And third is the grave importance of every Arab and Muslim country, the leaders asking Hamas to release the Israeli hostages and to disarm and surrender. So unless and until there is a strategic solution, meaning those hostages are released, IDF will not stop operations. Certainly we can look at this particular incident where an entire family was nearly wiped out. But the real end to this suffering will come only when the hostages are released and Hamas disarms and surrender. So the responsibility is not only of Israel.
Professor, these two doctors and obviously the children as well, Hamdi al-Najjar and Ala al-Najjar, they have been revealed to have no association with Hamas. They've been studied, their colleagues have been questioned, their social medias have been scanned, and there's no visible link to Hamas as far as we know. And if that is the case, surely this kind of breaks some sort of international law.
Yes, certainly. Every civilian death should be investigated because according to international law, civilians should not be targeted. Even if there is collateral damage, that should be investigated because especially the loss of so many children in one family demonstrates the devastation of war. But what is crucial is not only to address this one particular incident, which tells us a lot, but also address the most strategic solution of ending the war. And that is if the Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the other militant group release the hostages. Because until the hostages are not released, IDF will continue to operate. IDF has all the right to protect civilians, but also release their hostages. So we must look at both the problem and also the solution.
If you look at the statistics since Israel has restarted hostilities last month, they have released one hostage, and that was an American hostage, which was released during Donald Trump's visit to the region. Why would Hamas release these hostages if they're the only bargaining chips they really have left?
You are absolutely correct. Hamas is holding the hostages for its own protection, and that is their greatest bargaining chip. And that is the very reason there must be a solution beyond Hamas. As long as Hamas stays in Gaza, Palestinian civilians will die because IDF will mount operation after operation. Even in Israel, there's a huge call upon Netanyahu not to pursue war as option because the Israelis themselves want their nationals who are being held by Hamas. But Netanyahu is determined to conduct these operations. And these operations have not really helped to release any of the hostages because Hamas has developed the competency to hide these hostages. So we have to look at a diplomatic solution, but a solution that will end the war, not protract the war.
Yes, and Rohan, we are seeing now some substantial opposition to Israel's actions in their war now. Obviously, from allies, we've had a statement from the Foreign Minister of Malaysia today. We've obviously previously had comments, a joint statement from Mark Carney, Keir Starmer, and Emmanuel Macron, both condemning Israel's ongoing offensive. And now today we have this report that Israel is using Palestinians as human shields. Now the IDF is looking into this. How do you think that the way the IDF has conducted itself during this conflict is going to fee with time?
The British, Canadian and the French statements and other statements are important to send a message to Israel. But at the same time, the Arab governments, the Muslim governments should Hamas, including those governments that have hitherto funded and supported Hamas and PIJ, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, to release the hostages. We need both these parties to act to end the killing, the suffering of the civilians.
Professor Rohan Gunaratne, thank you very much for your insight on the programme. We now move on